Hello and welcome to day 7 of the Floral Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 14 flower themed Cricut papercraft projects in 14 days. Today's project is this lovely 5x7-inch greetings card with a bright, colourful flower on the top. But in case that's not enough, today's download also comes with a similar rose themed card too. So let's find out where to get the files to make these cards and then see how to make them. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Floral Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/floral. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you have missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/floral bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Floral Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You will need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Here's what one of today's greetings cards looks like once it's uploaded into Cricut Design Space. If you're not sure how to upload SVGs into Design Space, check out the Foundation Learning section of this Craft Countdown, which contains a link to a separate tutorial and video on how to upload your SVG files. Each of the 2 cards from today's project comes as a separate file, so you'll need to upload them both individually if you want to make both cards. The Design Space section of the project is exactly the same no matter which card you've chosen, so I'll show it to you with this design, but it works the same for the rose too. And then further on in this video, I'll show you how to stick them both together. Alright, so this should load in at 10 inches wide and 7 inches tall, which will make a 5x7-inch card once this bottom bit is folded in half. You don't actually need to change anything in Design Space. You could just click Make and start getting it cut out. However, one thing I like to do is to put a score line down the middle of the base card so that I know exactly where to fold it. To do that, first ungroup the layers by pressing the Ungroup button. And then I'll click and drag that base card out the way so it's easier to work with. Go into Shapes and choose a score line. Set it to the same height of the card, which is 7 inches. Then select the card and that score line and press Align Center to put the score line exactly in the middle. We need to actually tell the Cricut that we want it to score there. So to do that, with those 2 layers still selected, press Attach at the bottom of the Layers panel. That will move it to the top, so we'll go Arrange, Center back to move it underneath the flower again, and then if you want to, you can move it back into place. If you want to make an envelope for your card to go in, again, check out the Foundation Learning section of this countdown, where there's a separate tutorial and free SVGs on how to make envelopes. Those SVGs don't expire, so you can download those whenever you want. And the tutorial that comes with that shows you a couple of things. It shows you how you can resize the envelope templates to fit any size greetings card. And it also shows you how you can get your Cricut to write the addresses on the front of the envelopes if that's something that you would like it to do. Also in that Foundation Learning section is a tutorial on how you can get your Cricut to write on the inside of your cards. So maybe if you're not a fan of your handwriting and you want it to look super fancy, check out that tutorial for some tips on getting the Cricut to write your message instead. But for now, this is all I need to do. So let's click Make. I'm not going to save it. I didn't really make many changes. And that separates out the colours for you. You can change the paper size in here, and then you can drag and drop things to move them around to take up less space on your cardstock. You will need to do that for every single colour, so go ahead and get everything looking how you want it to. Then press Continue to connect to your Cricut machine and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut from your cardstock. Here are all the pieces of both of my greetings cards cut out, and I've laid them on top of each other following the assembly guides which are included in your download folder, just to check that I'm happy with all the colours and that I haven't lost any little pieces along the way. I'll show you how to stick them both together, and we'll start with this one. So first, take your base card and fold it in half down that score line. If you've got a brayer tool or a scraper tool, or even a rolling pin from the kitchen, go down that score line. Make sure it's nice and crisp. And then we can start sticking this together. It's up to you if you stick it onto the base card as you go, or if you stick it all together separately and then glue it on once it's all done. But I think I will do it so that I'm doing it on this one. This is the first layer, and this will be a foam square layer. So I turn it upside down, and I've got my foam squares here. This is the brand I use, but any will do. I just like these ones because they're small and it's quite easy to peel the tops off. And we'll also be using some glue. I'm using Bearly Art glue. But another great glue for cardstock is Collall. Neither of these glues bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do, which makes them awesome for paper crafting. Okay, I'm going to add my foam squares to the back. If yours are a bit big, you might need to cut them with scissors. You don't want any of the foam to be poking out over the edge, otherwise you'll see it on the finished card. And the reason I'm putting quite a lot along the edges is to give it lots of stability. If you only put foam squares in the corners, there's not going to be enough in there to keep it nice and level the whole way along. It's a little bit hard to see because the back of this particular cardstock is white, so we've got white card on a white table, which I know is not particularly helpful, but you'll see what I'm doing when it's all turned around. I'm also putting my foam squares in the middle for the same reason that I put it all the way around the edges, to give it that extra stability all the way around. We want to have a lovely dimensional effect. And with these layered greetings cards, and with all my layered greetings cards, I try not to add more than usually 2 levels of foam squares when it's a card, just because I'm conscious that if it gets too thick, it becomes rather expensive to post. So I try and keep it so that, at least here in the UK, it will still go as a regular letter rather than needing a large letter stamp. But of course, if you were worried about the thickness, you don't have to use any foam squares at all. You could glue everything instead, or you could just switch out one of the foam square layers for glue and still use one later on. So you can really customise this. You can also buy foam squares that are thinner. These ones, I believe, are 2mm thick. You can get ones that are just 1mm, which means you still get a little bit of dimension, but without it becoming really thick. Okay. I've peeled the backs off of all of my sticky pads, so now I can line this up. I think I'm going to open it out, that'll be easiest. Line it up along one of the edges, and then gently drop down, just to make sure you're happy with that positioning. It should line up along all 4 sides of the front. When you're happy, push down to stick those foam squares nice and securely. The next layer is the outline of the petals. This will be a glue layer. This sits right on top, just like that. Next we have the orange layer, which is our final big piece. This again is glued. Next is the big yellow section, and there's an arrow cut out to show you which way around to stick it. So just get that arrow facing upwards, and then glue this on. So my arrow is facing upwards, and then the petals will line up with the petals on the orange, like that. Okay, now it's time for our second foam square layer for the orange little bit to go in the middle. It doesn't matter which way around this goes, just make sure you cover up that arrow. And then the next two little pieces will both be glued. And they go straight in the middle. Again, doesn't matter which way around you put them. I love the bright colours of this card. There. Okay, then I can fold that up. And that's the first flower card finished. So now let's see how to put together the rose. I've already folded my card on this one and gone down it with my brayer tool, so we can get straight on with putting the layers together. And it is going to go together in a very similar way. So the bottom layer with the filled in leaves will be a foam square layer. I'll open up my card base just because I personally find it a little easier to line it up when it's open and flat. Get that nice and straight. Drop down and push if you're happy. The next piece is the darker green, which is the outline on those leaves. This will be glued. Then we've got these two pieces, starting with the one with the filled in rose shape, which is another glue piece. The detail layer on top with that final border is also glued. I'm going to try and get my glue into the outside pieces. I know it's thin, but if you can, it will really help your card because it will stop it from catching on these little thin bits in the envelope. If there was no glue on them, they'd be quite loose and prone to tearing. But a little bit of glue on them means it will be nice and sturdy and you won't risk damaging your card when it goes in or out of the envelope. I'm smushing out my glue a little bit on this one, but it's okay because it dries clear, so it won't notice so much when it's dry. Next are these two pieces, starting with the solid one. This will be foamed. You can use the two little spiky shapes to see which way around to put it. There we go. And then this one is a glue layer. Need to push down gently because that glue is coming out. I think I'm putting a bit too much on really. But as I said, it'll be fine when it's dry. You can use a fingernail or even a needle or tweezers or something to get some bits of it off if you want to try and neaten it up. There are now just two pieces left to finish to make up the next bit of the rose. I'm going to glue them because I don't want this to get too thick, but if you weren't worried about the thickness of your card, then you could foam this bit for a little bit more dimension. And there's that last bit on. So even though there isn't foam behind it, because you've still got two extra layers of cardstock, it does still give a little bit more effect to the card, which is why I included those rather than just doing it as kind of two sections. And there's my rose here, and also my other flower. And that's two greetings cards finished. I hope you enjoyed this video for day 7 of the Floralcraft Countdown on how to make layered flower cards. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut paper crafts and card making ideas. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 8 of the Floralcraft Countdown. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!